In a world where ham radio operators contest for points. Howdy everybody, I'm Steve, KM9G. We do a thing called FT8 Poker. And this talk is about the gamification of ham radio. So some of the people in the audience have played. Who here has played FT8 Poker? We got the whole crowd up here. We got a special guest in the back here, Chris. Wave. Chris is the developer behind the software. I kind of came up with the idea and I talked to Chris and Chris was like, I can do that. And Chris has delivered. What you're seeing here is the carousel that you can see if you are playing the game or if you're just watching the game being played, you can see this. We do this as a live stream on YouTube. We're going to go to a once a month format to start off. It's been kind of a slow start to get back into the groove of things. But what the concept here is that as you make an FT8 contact, there is a special section inside of the FT8 software that will send a packet out to the internet. And depending on which software you use, it'll send it out as UDP or it'll send it out as TCP. And if you guys want to really get nerdy, we can talk about the differences between those things. But one of them means it might not get there, and one of them means it'll definitely get there, and we're going to keep trying until it does. And what that packet includes is an ADIF record. And the ADIF record talks about your power and a friendly comment if you care to leave one, and who you are and who you contacted. And then it also includes grid squares. And because of the magic of grid squares and the location data that is from you to them and all kinds of stuff, and Chris even does some QRZ lookups, we can tell how far away your contact is. Does anybody here not know what FT8 is before I get too far in the weeds of FT8?
We can barely hear you in the mic.
Much closer. All right. So, if everybody here knows what FT8 is, you don't know what FT8 is. All right. FT8 is a software that you can use on your computer to send out what we call weak signals, and it basically has a very specific set of macros, a very specific set of transmissions that it sends, and I am listening at a very specific time and you are sending at a very specific time on a very specific frequency, a very specific message. So I know what to expect from you, when to expect it, and where to expect it, and I'm listening for that, which gives me at least a good 75% chance as opposed to just calling CQ randomly. And when I hear that, I can decode that information. That information tells me who you are, and then I respond back 15 seconds later, time synchronized, on the exact same frequency with the specific message that you're looking for. And we do enough of these exchanges back and forth, and I get to find out what your call sign is, and I get to find out what your grid square is, and we get to do the QSO confirmation. And as long as all of those things happen, it's considered a successful contact. Each one of these contacts takes 1 minute and 15 seconds if you're doing it by the book. And then if you are a Japanese amateur radio operator, they know a secret trick that they use all the time where they skip the first volley and they can do the whole thing in 1 minute instead of 1 minute 15. So they have a little bit of an advantage in a contest like this. So with that information that is pulled in and recorded and then sent up to the server, what we have is that distance data that I was talking about earlier. And inside of that distance data, we give you a random weighted chance to get a better contact. So what you can see on the screen is this carousel, and this carousel is going back and forth and talking about a couple of different things that are happening. This is from our last contest, and I don't remember what day it was, but it was at least a month ago. And Andy, is Andy here in the chat? In the chat. Like I'm on YouTube again. Is Andy here in the room? I didn't see him. He's here at the show. Andy won the round, and you can see that Andy won the round with a pair of jacks, a king, a 4, and a 3. And I know that Andy was running at least 100 watts, and I can look into these contacts, and I can find out who he contacted and what all it means. And because I'm standing in front of this screen, I can't actually see it. So Andy made a contact. His first contact was PC2J on 20 meters, FT8, and he sent a signal report of -16, that's -16 dB, and he received a signal report of 2 dB. So this is not your typical 5.9 signal reports or something along those lines. I personally have seen the range go from -26 to +26. So that gives you an idea of what kind of signal this was. Andy says he's running 50 watts, and the distance of this contact from Andy, who is in Indiana, to PC2J, I think PC2J is Brazil. Does that sound familiar? Netherlands, even better. So 6,859 kilometers, and he received a jack for his efforts. So you can see the rest of the context, and they all kind of work out the same way. And you don't have to get all of the cards in order to make it to the scoreboard. You'll see some people at the end of the scoreboard did not do that. Let me go all the way to the bottom of the screen here, too far. And we'll go to the very last page. And you can see these are people that didn't complete 5 contacts in the amount of time that it was allotted for the contest. And we try to do 2 or 3 of these depending on the night. Sometimes what was the one we did? We did like 4 or 5 hours one day just playing with this. Yeah, like Christmas Day or something. After all the Christmas presents were handed out and everybody was in their food comas, we all went and played ham radio and hung out together as a big family. So you don't have to get all the cards, and depending on how the game rolls, I mean, like any poker game, you could just come in with a pair of aces and win at the very last minute and beat everybody else's hand, because it was a pair of jacks that won the round this time. So I didn't see Andy. Chris is sitting in the back. Chris got a pair of 6s, a jack, a 7, and a 2, and then Jim is sitting over here in the front. And Jim got a pair of 4s, a 9, and an 8, and a pair of 4s put Jim in 3rd place. So this is the way that we have thought about gaming ham radio and making it a little more attractive and a little more interesting to some people. And we chose FT8 because we want to be in the room talking to each other and having fun and playing games and what people do when they play together games in real life. And if you're trying to do like an SSB contact, we can't hear each other because we're all shouting in the same room together, and I can't hear the contact I'm making. They hear me plus all the other din in the room. So this seemed like a really good way to do this, because this is silent as far as our voices are concerned and our ears are concerned. We don't have to have the radio volume turned up in order to play this game, because the radio will happily transmit without you listening. So that was one of the things that we had chosen FT8 for, was because we could have that camaraderie and bring us together as a group. And a lot of things have sparked out of this. One of the things that we did, Carlos was able to play one day on stream, but he wasn't able to play in the game, and he was out actually going and getting fast food, and he wound up getting one of those Impossible burgers, and we never let him live it down. So that was a fun time. The other thing that we can do is we can record this data in real time, and that's a very important thing for modern contesting in my mind, is the real-time scoring, because I've done like a state QSO party or something, and you don't know what the results are, whether you won, whether you placed, where you placed, for sometimes a month or more before you get the answer. And it's kind of just like, I played, I had fun doing it, but I have no idea what my results were. So this is actually, as you make the contact and you log it, your card is shown on screen, and you have this, like, what am I going to get? How's it work out? And then you can kind of figure out, while you're playing this, a better way to operate your radio. The long distance contacts make a difference over short distance contacts. Power levels make a difference over, higher power has a different amount of chances than lower power. Let's see if I can get into the way the settings are. That went into the sprint. There it is. We were actually going to do this live, but we had some technical difficulties getting this set up. Okay. So this is a rule that is in the rule book, and there's, as you can see behind the white box, there's a bunch of rules down the left-hand side. The first rule name is 2 meter, 70 centimeter, QRP contact less than 125 kilometers. So you can kind of guess what we're shooting for here. And there's a bunch of definitions of what that rule is. So your QSO band is 2 meters, or your QSO band is 70 centimeters, or it's 33 centimeters, or it's 23 centimeters. And we can drop down and we can pick any one of the bands that we'd like to pick here. And after that, you can pick your transmit power. And if it is 0 watts to 10 watts, then you qualify for this rule card. And then if your distance is less than 125 kilometers, you qualify for this. So you make up all of these, kind of complex rules that pick what kind of results you get. And then we see the probability that you have of the different kinds of cards. So this is where it gets to be a little bit interesting. Chris, do we make these rules public other than talking about them?
No, there's a rules section on the website kind of lays out the base case for percentages.
Okay.
Parking, but we haven't socialized this.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we talk about what this is while we're doing the contest, but outside of going into actual decimal percentages of what kind of card probability you would get would take several hours to do. But you can see that you have a higher chance of getting a 2, then a 3, then a 4, and then all the way down they kind of get smaller and smaller, where you have 0 chance of getting an ace or a joker with that kind of power at that kind of distance on that band. And Chris has gone through and he's created one of these for pretty much each band, each power level, and each set of distances. So let's take a look at QRO, General HF, here we go. QRO General HF 9,000 kilometers to 11,249 kilometers, and this is bands 160, 80, 40, 20, 15, and 60. And then your power level is 100 watts or less. No, sorry, 100 watts or more. I read that backwards. And then your distances, and you can see you have a lower probability of getting a 2, and your cards start to go up a little bit. And then this one kind of curves in a different direction. Instead of going straight over to one side, it curves, you know, back on itself. And you still wind up with a 0% chance of getting a joker. And the cool thing about this is we can create more than just a poker game. Poker was like a pretty fun way to do this. But initially the way that we started this out was just with regular contacts, and then whoever got the most contacts was the winner. And then we started to filter in a little bit more rules with this. Instead of just whoever got the most contacts was the winner, it was prioritized if you said that you were out doing a POTA activation while you were doing the contest, you had a higher weight of score. And then it was also prioritized if you were on technician capable bands doing this, that you had a higher chance of getting a better score. And what we were trying to do there was incentivize going out and doing, you know, remote operations in a park, or incentivizing trying to make contacts with people with a lower license class to get them excited and interested into what we were doing. And we found that there were some ways to cheat, and we found some ways to fix cheaters. And I don't see the cheater in the room with us here. I won't mention the cheater's name, but his call sign is N8YO. It's a long-running gag, and what he wound up doing was he actually took his log that he had uploaded, and at the end of the match, he uploaded it one more time and duplicated all of his contacts. So he got twice as many contacts during the same amount of time. And it's, you know, everything that we do in ham radio is kind of, you know, on ham's honor. You know, we're just kind of self-reporting and talking about it. You could very easily turn in a log to a regular contest that had some fluff in it to get you a little bit better. You could kind of do the same thing here. But we also have some ability where there's no way that you could make that many contacts that fast on the same, like on the same radio, on the same band, at the same time you made 2 contacts. That's very, very, very unlikely. There are some radios that have slices where you can make the same contact at the same time on 2 bands. That's less unlikely, but still not probable. So we put some thought process into things along those lines. And it's actually, it winds up being a lot of fun because of being able to talk with each other while we do this. And another thing that we can do, which we haven't done a whole lot of, is we can actually offer prizes for first place, second place, third place. And you can get some ham paper to, you know, print a certificate out on your wall that says you won the Christmas Day event, or, you know, anything else that anybody wants to donate. That can be a giveaway for first, second, or third place. Or we can even do like whoever is the, you know, most consistently dead last person. We can give them the biggest loser award. So there's lots of different things that we can do along those lines. And while we're doing the contest, I can change what's going on this carousel up on the screen. Like right now you can see these are W3 SWM's contacts, and you can get some more information about them by clicking on his call sign below. You can see the actual QSOs, which is ones that he's been able to finish. You can see report received from different people. You can see what his hand is, and as he's making more contacts, more cards would show up on the screen, and we can kind of watch in real time. Remember, this is FT8, so each one of these contacts takes at least a minute to complete, and as a result of that, just watching this screen and only this screen would kind of lull you off into a sense of very relaxing, deep sleep. So, yeah, it's been a fun thing that we have done over the years, and there's been a couple of other ideas that have come up. Chris came up with an idea for bingo, and we haven't done that yet. So I need to play around with that and learn what we don't know and have fun with that. Oh, it was your idea. Okay.
Apparently we have similar ideas.
Oh,
We're going to talk about it later.
excellent. I will be here. And if I'm not here, then you know how to get a hold of me anyway. Let's see, what else do we have going on the screen here? So like I said, we did take advantage of the software that comes the WSJTX software that you would use for this. And where is it? I thought it was it's in help. And inside of it is this secondary UDP server, and it says that it's deprecated, but this deprecated feature has survived many version numbers, and we're not sure why it's deprecated. And I haven't been able to talk to the person who's responsible for undeprecating it and keeping it alive for us, but hopefully we'll have enough weight as we continue to do this to get this undeprecated and make this feature continue along. And so you just check this box and give it an IP address and this port number is in the help screen on the software, and it will start sending the packets up. So WSJTX uses UDP to send it. JTDX uses TCP to send it. So there's technically an ever so slight advantage, but with today's modern internet, it's not going to be that big of a deal. And then the QSO logging screen comes up like I had said before, and this is some of the information that we were talking about. So there is your band, your signal report in each direction, your grid square, your transmit power, and this transmit power field is how we can tell what your power is. So this is one of those opportunities that I talked about before where you could just kind of fake your way into a better or worse score, but you'd have to really know the probability statistics inside of the rules to know if this was something useful to do or not. And if you're tweaking this while you're making your contacts, you're not making as many contacts. So you have to kind of weigh that in as you go. So there's a whole lot of strategy that can go into this. Do I make a lot of high signal report contacts locally within my area, or do I prioritize DX contacts? I have to watch how this person makes their contacts and see if they are actually prioritizing local contacts over DX contacts. Are they actually going to answer me? Because there's a chance that some people just answer whoever calls, and then there's another chance that some people actually are trying to, like some people will say, CQWI, they're looking for contacts in Wisconsin, and some people will just say CQ and take any contact from anywhere. So that all really does play into it. So there might be an opportunity where you're in Wisconsin and somebody's looking for Wisconsin, and I would prioritize that contact if I knew I could make it. And then, so you also have to know your band conditions, and you have to know your antenna, and you have to know your skip zones, and you have to really know quite a bit about how ham radio operates in order to get just that extra little bit. If you guys have ever done any kind of contesting or racing or anything that involves any kind of strategy, what you'll find is that the difference between first, second, and third place is little tiny details like that. And so as you're trying to make your contacts, you have to figure it out. And there are some programs out there. There's WSJTZ, and then there's also Auto FT8, and there's some other software along that line that will do automatic contacts. And as they're doing automatic contacts, they're not going to be as good as an involved human being will be. I've seen them get stuck on contacts and not finish them. I've seen them prioritize the wrong kind of contacts. And as a result of doing that, you're not winning the contest because you're not paying attention. Even the WSJTX software itself, when you're using it, it sometimes gets stuck. Or you'll wind up getting stuck with somebody who keeps making the same contact with you if you have it set to auto respond to the first caller. And these are some gotchas that you'll have to figure out as you play the game. And sometimes I've had it where somebody won't leave me alone, and I've had to change time slices, or I've had to change bands entirely to get away from that person. Because as I'm trying to actually make a good contact, this person keeps getting into my queue first, and I've already made a contact with them. Chris, did we tell this software not to allow duplicates or to penalize for duplicates?
Yeah, you'll notice that I think in one of the contacts you'll see a red bar that goes across. So
Okay.
penalized for it yet.
Okay, yet. I like that. So in the original version of this, you got a penalty of, instead of getting one positive contact in the log, you got 2 negative contacts because you lost the original and then you lost the duplicate as a result of working a duplicate contest, a duplicate contact. And so that was, again, an idea to try to keep you involved, to try to keep you present during the contest. Because you could set it up if you really wanted to. You and a friend could sit there and make the same contacts over and over again. And when you're only counting the raw number of contacts, it's a really easy way to rig the game. A really good strategy at first until we introduced that no duplicates rule. And then you start getting penalized pretty heavily for working the same person. And so if you're asleep at the wheel, you could accidentally work the same person 4 or 5 times in a row and never win the contest because you've taken away so many points that you just can't recover from it. So we have the ability to kind of learn from these things as we go and evolve the scoreboard as we go along. The scoreboard is complex enough that we won't be doing that during a sprint, so the rules won't change mid-game on you. But if we find out that you're consistently winning and the numbers are shocking, we're going to start to look and figure out why you're consistently winning and then make the game harder as a result. So by all means, we welcome that kind of activity so we can learn better and become better operators and find a better way to make this contest more difficult. So in addition to the regular sprints that we have, let me get back to the main page. Originally it was just straight up contacts, and now it's these poker cards. This gives us the ability to kind of like talk and I wonder what card Charles Schultz is going to get next year, WJ4K, because he's got a queen, a jack, a 10, and he's got 2 more chances to get more cards. He could very easily get a much better hand in the next 2 minutes. So you kind of have this tension that builds up as you're playing the game. I can't just give up. And one of the questions that we get a lot about this particular game, this being a poker style game, is are we all sharing a deck or how does that work? And right now the way this works is that everybody gets their own deck, and as a result of that you could have multiple hands that have pairs of the same aces as an example. In the future we're going to work on doing a login, but this gets more and more complex and takes more time to do, and we all have lives outside of ham radio, unfortunately. But we'll have the opportunity to do a situation where once this queen of diamonds is taken, it's off the board, and that would add just one more layer of complexity, because you can't do that card because it's already gone. What card are you going to get? And you can prioritize contacts a little bit if you know the individual probability factors of the cards. And then the next thing that we're working on is the ability to have you log in so that we can redraw cards. Like, I don't want those last 3 cards, because it gets to the point where everybody's got their cards on the table, winner's already been chosen, and we're just kind of waiting for the last few stragglers and for the clock to run out. So it's another way to amp up the excitement and amp up the difficulty of the contest. And this isn't limited to poker, it was just one of the ideas that we had. So I'm actually very curious to see how the FT8 bingo is going to work, and very curious to see where we go in the next couple of years. And we're always open to feedback, so if anybody has any suggestions on kind of games that they want to play, then we can certainly go over that. So I'm going to open it up to questions at this point. Does anybody have any questions? Even easy ones?
So is this software available now that anybody can use?
It is software that's available that anybody can play when we set up a sprint, and right now the keys to start the engine are held with us. It could be one of those things in the future where you can set up your own sprint at your own club one day. You guys can all get in and then remote control your radios from home, and you can be sitting in the same room, like you were actually sitting at a table playing cards and having a few cold beverages of your soft drink choice. Yeah, so he was asking, can this be played by anybody at any time? And the answer is almost.
So how can we find out when they're going to be set up?
So that's a good question. We run a YouTube channel called Coffee and Ham Radios, and right now, while we're trying to gain some exposure and some awareness that this exists, we're doing it on that, and we do it Thursday nights. And we haven't picked a regular schedule. We can probably just pick that right now, 3rd Thursday of the month. 3rd Thursday of the month, Coffee and Ham Radios on YouTube. Great idea. Yeah, so it's a very flat organizational structure in Coffee and Ham Radios. So, any other questions? There was one over here somewhere, I thought.
Just quick, so that's FT8 in WSJTX in standard mode, or you go into one of the contest mode?
This is in standard mode currently. We did do a Fox and Hound mode once, just to see what it was like. But the game right now is not set up for Fox and Hound. That would be pretty interesting.
Not just that, when you go in, you go to advanced, and you say you're running a contest, and they have a few contests you can pick there, so that would give you a more separate log from your regular FT8 log.
Would that affect the way the software performs? If it's something you can do on your end, go for it.
I guess you're doing the separate data channel into your server.
Yeah, so it will be in your regular log on your hard drive, And then this will also upload as you make contacts. And what a lot of people do is they just leave that box checked and upload, all week long, all month long, outside of the contest.
When you say you're talking outside, are you in like a team speak chat?
So the way that we're doing it right now is with a YouTube live stream. And so while we're hosting the live stream, there's the chat that's going on, and there are people that are having conversations in the chat. We've got a couple of hecklers sitting over here in the peanut gallery that are regulars on the show, and they usually say things. And then there's a couple of hecklers back here that haven't played in a while, boys. And we're waiting for them to, oh, really? We're waiting for them to get back into the game. So they're in the chat, and they're chatting back and forth with us. And then we also have a Discord chat server that we run that's open 24/7, and people talk in that all the time as well.
Do people use JT Alert to pop up windows on people's phone?
We don't do that yet, but
if you had JT Alert up running an internet channel, somebody to pop up on their screen.
yeah, that would be neat. Yeah, so he's asking if we use JT Alert. We don't use JT Alert yet, but we can certainly try it. And that's the other thing that we're doing is everything is wide open. Everything is on the table to do and learn about and grow. Any other questions? Yeah, so we do FT4 currently. We do FT4 and FT8. If we were to do something like JT65 as an example, the volley is way too long, and it wouldn't be as much fun. I mean, if you wanted to run a 24-hour contest and make 12 contacts, sure. I don't know what the actual math is. The WSJTX is just a means to an end, and the reason why we like it is because it doesn't require chat in the room with the rest of the people, and it doesn't require somebody to write out what's going on and mail in a log later. It has that automatic log upload feature, and there's no reason why we couldn't invent our own digital transfer mode that makes these contacts. And another thing that I didn't mention earlier, when we're doing these sprints, you're not trying to make a contact with another player and have those two contacts count towards something at this point. What you're trying to do is just make a contact with anybody out there, whether they're contesting or not. It doesn't matter if they're playing the game, a contact with them still counts towards your scoreboard. In the original version, we did have it so that if there were two people that were playing at the same time, there was a special bonus if you tried to work somebody else who was playing the contest while you were playing. So that might be something to bring back.
So how many participants do you have now in this flat organization of people playing the game?
Let me get to the last page. This is the last live contest that we ran. And this had 22 people playing, and then we probably had another 80 or 100 people total watching at the time. And it varies. It just depends on who's available. And one of the things that we run into, to your question earlier over here, is we're not awake all the time. Like, we go to sleep, and there are other countries that want to play. So we have some people that do stay up late at night to play, and sometimes we rotate it to like Saturday morning or something like that, or a special holiday event to get different people able to play. Jody.
Yeah, so you and Chris, have you talked about commercializing this so clubs can have their own contests to post it themselves?
So we have talked about commercializing it, and then you run into the pecuniary interest rule in America, and I don't know that it applies, but I'm not a lawyer, and I'm certainly not your lawyer, and I'm not even in your country. I mean, you're in my country now. Jody's a regular. Jody's from Canada, and Jody actually heckles Jim quite a bit during the game, and we appreciate that. So yeah, commercialization, something along those lines. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to, and I'm going to kind of speak from the podium up here and not from a position of immense legal knowledge, but what I would say is, like, first, second, and third place could very easily win like an HT that was sponsored by ICOM or Yaesu or Radiodity or Redivis or something along those lines. And you don't know that you're going to win. You might win something, you might not win something. You didn't pay for it. Nobody paid you to play. So, I don't know where the rule book is in that. And the FCC is very hard to talk to about that. What's that?
The house would get no cut.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not getting paid to provide the contest for you to have the opportunity to win the radio by making random FT8 contacts. It's just a chance. It's kind of like your own bowling league. you put some money into the table in the beginning, and out the end, somebody gets some prize. Could be you, could not be you. Nobody's getting rich off of it. So, yes, sir.
What is the website or the page we're looking at?
Yeah, this is called Frequency Frenzy, and the website is frequencyfrenzy.live. And the question was, what is the website? Any other questions? Jody again.
I think we should remind Jim what bands you're not supposed to contest.
Oh, yeah. So in the US, there's this thing called the work bands, WARC. And we were actually going to do a live demo. Yeah, we were going to do a live demo of this during the talk today, but internet didn't cooperate and so on, so we weren't able to do that. But we run this as a contest, quote unquote, so you don't contest on the work bands. And if you do make contacts during the contest on those bands, they're actually wiped out of the record. And so you'll see at the bottom, let me see if it's on the screen here.
Stolen from.
Yeah, check Jim's line.
Steve, I don't think we had any errors that sprints if you do the previous sprints.
Oh, they did a good job.
Or that would be able to-
Yeah, I only did it once.
I don't think I've ever done previous sprints. There it is. Previous sprints.
It's probably one of the first ones we did.
Oh, it's got to be the one where you used the Poseidon. There it is, errors. Yep. So K0WAV, 17 meters is a work band and cannot be used for a scored QSO. So it tells you on the screen, like, I made a contact, why doesn't it show up? So you can ask us in real time and we can give you an answer in real time that, your contact didn't show up because you used the wrong band and you should have known better. So, and it's a friendly game, so we'll give you some friendly heckling. Yes, sir.
And do you put the rules in your YouTube chat?
The rules are on the screen and we talk about them. And at this point, it's just a bunch of people having fun. So this is the rules of like how the probabilities are here on the screen. And at this point, you're not winning anything other than bragging rights. So, if nobody fully understands the rules at this point, it's okay. But as things get a little deeper and, more heated, we might be able to, have that come up in advance. But again, we're going to be doing this, once a month, and the rules are going to be the same. And if you don't win this time, you might win next time. So what were the rules? That was where are the rules published? Any other questions? Yeah, we don't like rules. We're not rule-abiding types. All right, you guys are a tough crowd. No questions. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I did not say anything about our antennas. So we are Coffee and Ham Radios, and this is where we put this together, and we have antenna kits for sale if anybody's interested in buying antenna kits.